Good morning. My name is Robert Lippman. I'm the president of the Rivera Foundation that safekeeps these pictures. We're at the exhibition here at the National Art Gallery of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. And it's an exhibition of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera from the Jacques and Natasha Gelman collection. Jacques and Natasha were individuals who came to Mexico City separately during the Second World War as refugees, married. Jacques was a producer of movies, and when they moved into their home in 1941, knowing many of the artists working in Mexico at the time, they decorated their home essentially with these great pictures. It was their connoisseurship that put this collection together and kept it, as well as establishing another collection, which is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, of School of Paris paintings from the 20th century as well, of Picasso and Braque, Chagall, Matisse. And you can enjoy those pictures as they were bequeathed to the Metropolitan Museum. We at the Rivera Foundation take care of the pictures and travel them around, and also add to the collection of contemporary Mexican painting of artists working today in Mexico. Well, the works on view are certainly, as you can see, Frida's are very personal and actually revolve around her self-portraits, which are the most famous, whereas Diego's are landscapes and still lives and other views of Mexican life. Well, the works are not very similar. I mean, Frida's scale is very small because at the time she was painting, she was not the famous artist. It was Diego who was the famous artist and was one of 3 muralists commissioned by the government to paint these enormous murals about the history of Mexico in national buildings, so that a public which was primarily illiterate would know something about their history. By looking at the murals, they were sort of comic books in a sense, giving a history of Mexico. Those were placed all around essentially the main cities of Mexico and available to the public, whereas Frida's works were privately owned and not known to the general public until a few decades ago. Well, Diego's don't necessarily. Frida's do at times. There's one painting here when Diego started an affair with her sister, where she cut off her hair and then braided it into a knot on her head. And if one knew the story of their life, one would understand what that strange ornament was on the top of her head. Principally, Frida's subject matter is herself, because she didn't really have the funds to hire models, and because she was incapacitated in a sense by her accident and having polio as a child. Although she was perfectly capable of walking about, she didn't that much, and she worked in her studio, while Diego was working on enormous murals and also had a vast studio himself in Mexico City. Well, it's more revealing about Frida as a person because they're self-portraits. Diego's are more of general scenes of Mexico, the desert, children enjoying parties and the like. Well, the interesting thing about the works is that when both of them were painting, it was Diego who was the famous artist, whereas at this point, Frida has caught up with him with the interest in the general public and in the collectors, who want to see her work just as much as they want to see Diego's, if not more so. The legacy is much more so about Frida because it reveals how a single person who was not very well known in her own lifetime can be taken up by the general public with a great interest in her life and her work.